So hi everybody, Shanique and I are here. This is my roommate in case you didn't know. And this is just going to be a series on things that I like or love or hate about college. And the first episode that we're going to do is basically things that stopped us from talking to our professors in ways of like personal connections or just seeking help in general. So yeah. So I'm an architect major and Shanika is a
political science major.
yes. So I guess I'll give one and she'll give one. I'll give one, she'll give one. So for me, my first reason as to why I didn't like speaking to my professors was I was always afraid to talk to them because I was just like, I don't know what I'm saying and they're scary. So I've always been afraid to talk to my professors. And I mean, I've gotten over it a little bit, but that's been my fear.
Yeah. My fear, I would say, with some of my teachers would be, I guess, kind of similar to yours. I'm afraid, but I think it's because, like, if it's, like, a really big class and, like, if other people are talking to the teacher, I'm just like, oh, what I'm saying probably doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and other students have more important things to say, so I wouldn't speak about what I wanted to talk about. And I guess that hindered me from, like, actually getting my ideas out.
Yeah, for me, it's like another reason why I've always been afraid to speak to my professors is whenever I did speak to them, it was always kind of like, you don't really know what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna just dumb it down for you. Which in some cases were true, but there were other cases where I did know what they were speaking about, but they just assumed that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand why they assumed that. Like, for instance, I would ask them a question, and instead of answering my question, they would redirect the question to something completely different and try to belittle me. And I'm just like, no, I know that section. I need to ask you about this. But they felt as if what they had to say was more important versus what I thought, and therefore I was still left questioning what was happening in the first place.
That's awkward.
It's very awkward and frustrating.
Something else I would say is, I don't know, like if my teacher is weird, like if I feel like I can't make a connection with you, sometimes I'm just like, why bother? Like if I have a really old teacher, I don't know, there's like just a gap there, you know, mm-hmm. where it's like, and especially with the classes that I'm taking, it's important that the teacher understands like the context and like, the context of the situation. So because I'm a political science major, a lot of what we talk about are social ills. So if I'm in New York, I'm a young black girl, and I'm talking to an 85-year-old white man about something that only pertains to my life, I won't even bother go to that teacher because it's like, they ain't got nothing to tell me. So yeah.
Yeah, just to like bounce off what she's saying, I think that's another issue for why I hated speaking, especially to my studio professors, because we're out here in Berrien Springs, Michigan. I've never had a black professor ever, and I don't think we've never had black professors. So in college. So talking to them there's already like this gap that starts. And my first professor, who is in his 30s, was my junior year, and he's not American, he's German. So there's even more like complexities in talking to him, even though he's like cool, but it was still really hard. So whenever I did connect with them, especially classes that I think kind of fueled my passion behind architecture, they kind of looked at me like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And there was this whole like, for me, I felt there's this complex or this whole gap between, oh, I'm the man, I know, and you're the female, you don't, because it's architecture. And like I did some statistics before the video started, and there's only 17%, the women in architecture make up 17% of the entire 100% of architects in America. And then only 1.4 of the entire population of architects in America is black. So it's just like, it's very hard to connect with them. So I always feel like this kind of one up, one down situation that has put me in a place where I'm just like, I'm not even going to talk to y'all because you're not going to understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Especially like from my gentrification paper, I was just like, my teacher, we kind of had this little tussle in class. I was a little rude, but I don't care. He was just like, why didn't you talk to me about your paper? And my main point was, I don't need to talk to you because you don't know anything about this topic. Which was true. I mean, he will say that he does, but I know for a fact he doesn't. But that, I think that's like the biggest hindrance when it came to my education, because my teachers didn't know how to connect to me. And because of that, it made it harder. Even though I know I'm paying them, so I should just go out of my way to talk to them. But it's hard to talk to people who you know are just not going to get it off the bat.
Yeah. That reminds me, one of mine, I think, I guess within my major, my department in my school, I'm considered radical. So in a lot of my classes, I would have something to say, but I would fear that, it would be too much for the teacher and it would just start some confusion. So I know in my modern political thought class about a year ago, we were reading Abraham Lincoln, I think. Yeah. James Madison. So we were reading James Madison, and he's talking about, my teacher, he's in love with political theory, so he's talking about the founding of America. It's great, blah, 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 equality. And I'm like, but these men owned slaves. And he's like, well, they did, but look at what they wrote, like they meant equality for everyone. But I'm like, yeah, but you saying that, but then you got these black people working for you.
Was it really equality?
Yeah, so then we started arguing in class, and after that, I gave up ever trying to bring my radical views that you should practice what you preach into class. So I think, yeah, I don't want to do that, and then I jeopardize a letter of recommendation, or I don't know, I just don't want my teacher to think that I'm some horrible person, although it's what I believe is common sense, actually, yeah. I don't want my teacher to think that I'm some horrible person, and then that, I don't know, just ruins my reputation with them, because at the end of the day, I gotta finesse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes life so much harder. Like, I had this whole conversation with people in my class, and they were saying that, career women, it's like you have to pick. So there are a whole bunch of women out there who are not the most nurturing or caring or whatever, and they're businesswomen, so, they'll adjust. And I'm just like, but why? Why do I have to change who I am to be that career woman? And on top of that, I'm already black, so the black, angry woman complex and issue is already stereotyped on my forehead, and I'm a New Yorker, so I'm aggressive at heart. So it's not even like I don't really have a choice but to go out of my way to be as nice as possible and as nurturing as possible, so people don't think I'm a jerk. But then to be successful, I'm told that I have to be the complete opposite of what my makeup is, so that I can be in a world dominated by men. And had this whole conversation, and they're just like, well, it's just the culture, and, my grandmother didn't, she didn't work, and it's just like, I understand that, but in 2016, we trying to work, not only because we want to work, but because we can't afford to not work, unless we marry some prince in Africa.
Some African prince, yeah.
I mean, it's not happening, like, that's what are the odds of us meeting princes in Africa? Okay. It's not happening. So it's just, there's such a huge issue, I think, especially in careers that are dominated by men, because they have these innuendos to just look at you in a certain way when that's not who you are. And I have felt in my own personal college career where I've seen my professors talk to me in a sense, or in a way that kind of, they weren't giving me as much information as they should have. For instance, my freshman year, I was an interior design student. But when you start the architecture program, the interior design program, your first 2 years are straight architecture classes. And I've had professors talk down to me, or kind of not give me a little information to help me pass, because they're like, oh, she's not going to be an architect, so it doesn't even matter. And it's just like, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know that. You don't know that. You can't tell me that. At the end of the day, I'm taking this class, so you have to give me the same information that you're giving the male students or the female students who are going to be architects. So it's very annoying.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
I gotta say another one.
Another one.
Okay. That was really funny. Okay. What's something else? I don't know. My department's pretty good about this stuff. I would say, maybe, okay, maybe this isn't something that, this isn't a reason why I would not talk to my professor, but I think that not talking to your professors, and I think talking to your professors will help you to be more confident in, like, what you're saying, in your field, that you know there's a professional that's, like, conversing with you and kind of backing up, like, what you're saying or critiquing you or whatever. I think that manifests, like, once you go into your career, like, how confident you are of yourself. If you were nurtured by someone who was a professional, if you went to a college, you never spoke to your teachers, you never spoke to a professional in your field, once you are a professional in your field, like, what would that do for you, you know? So, I don't know. I think it's tricky. It's tricky because then that can mess you up down the road. And that's not cool because you're trying to break that cycle of people who can't talk to their teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when, like, what she's saying is true, because when I did start my internship, my boss, he was scary, okay? Just think of, like, this, was he Jewish? Yes, this Jewish New Yorker, born and raised, and he's here, like, cursing up a storm. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my pro-Adventist heart can't take this. So I was very terrified talking to him. And he's actually, like, one of the nicest persons I've ever met, but he's still the scariest. And it wasn't until after the whole thing, I was just like, thank you so much for being so kind and seeing the talent within me, and then being so hard on me at the same time and getting me to speak when I needed to speak and trust my own, thoughts. So yeah, like, it is good to speak to them. Even the ones who are rude and try to downgrade your whole entire life, because people are going to try to downgrade your entire life for the rest of your life, and you're going to have to know how to speak to these people and handle them.
That is true.
In a professional manner.
That is true.
You can ask my professor. I don't think he likes me, but it's okay. It's alright. Because I got an A on my paper. But yeah, so if you guys have any, like, comments or any, ideologies of why people have these issues with talking to their professors and tips for talking to your professor, let us know, because, this is our last semester in undergrad, but we still gonna be in school.
We still got grad school. So yeah.
And loans. Jesus.
And loans to pay.
Oh yeah, but yes. Thanks for watching our video. Video.
Ado.